everybody. Welcome back, we hope, to Let's All Feel Better.
Woo!
I'm Kalista Parrish, empty nester.
Yes, indeed. And I'm Liz Kiefer, empty nester as well. Yeah, but I'm 2 years ahead of you. So
yes, I was going to say, and also yours has graduated and slightly
and come back. The chickens have come back.
As we all know, I'm thrilled that she actually got to be on campus for, fingers crossed, for however long that lasts. But I'm very thankful in some ways, very thankful to be an empty nester at this point.
You know. Well, you've had quite a couple of weeks since we last spoke and our last podcast. So for those of you who have been following the saga, Kalista was, you went through handing your child off to the world.
Yes.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Yes, without being able to go up to her room and see her dorm room and all that kind of stuff. And stay too long, but it was nice. We actually got to go on campus because we're from a non-quarantine state.
Go New York.
Go New York. And so and it was lovely. And she's been there now 2 weeks, and she is.
How's she doing?
She's doing great. She's making friends. She's doing her classes. She's seeing what it all means. And yes, obviously, is it more challenging to be social and make friends at a time of social distancing and mask wearing. And she was saying the other day that she met some people in the laundry room and it's a nice chit chat, but she said, I didn't give my name. I said, well, maybe you'll run into them in the hallways or whatever. She said, we all wear masks, Mom. Nobody recognizes anyone. And I was like, oh, snap. You don't. Like, you don't really recognize people. And, she was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's what
I'm curious if anybody's thought of the idea of having your name on your mask, like a name tag.
Interesting.
Would that be kind of an interesting orientation?
That'd be a great orientation thing. Oh, that's interesting.
Ooh.
But no, they gave her, for her graduation, they gave them masks with the school's name on it. But
a lot of good that's going to do her now.
There's a lot of school masks, I will say that much. But also, thanks to our also lovely dear friend Jen, she also left with more than just Mommy could make for her. So she has many different masks. Fabulous, cute little masks. And she's gotten many compliments on her masks.
Yes.
Jen
Lee. Mockingbird handmade.
I was going to say Mockingbird handmade. Excellent masks and various other things too. Other textile art. It's a thing now. It is the au courant accessory. As the mask. So embrace it, I say.
Embrace it. Yes. Jen just made one for my daughter Bella that had vegetables and like pink radishes and it was pink and green. It's just beautiful. I was like, well, you might as well just, wear vegetables.
I just made my husband, the musician, songwriter, and piano tuner, a one with music notes on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
That he wears into the places where he goes to tune, so it works. You can just tell what he is right away. Right. But I like the
masks with names.
Masks
for the students out there that are freshmen in college. This is good business. Okay.
Little kids.
And for the little kids too, just going to school.
Well, and speaking
of little kids,
what we're talking about today is self-regulation, really, and the ability of one, which is very special ability to self-regulate, to understand yourself enough to know when you've had enough,
which is part of boundary work. It's just I'm very, very heavily in the middle of right now, boundaries in all different areas. But and learning it as a young child. I mean, what's that experiment about with the young kids, they'd be able to identify supposedly the kids that were going to be the most successful in life, the ones that where they left the, maybe, I don't know, it was a plate of chocolate cookies or whatever, chocolate chip cookies, and you can only have one, and then left the room. And I believe that there's some sort of the ones that were able to hold off, apparently proved to have successful, inclinations in life in terms of business and well, whatever you might want to consider success, which perhaps might be, the definition might be changing these days, but
self-knowledge is
yeah,
is a success in itself. Knowing one's allowing oneself to know oneself well enough to stop is a success in itself, I think.
it is a success in itself, and extremely important. That whole self-awareness is the first key. And you have a lovely, I know we both have good stories about our children with us.
Speaking of experiments, and I was I think I talked about this somewhat, but I was a nanny, full-time nanny, live in, live out. I was a preschool teacher for years in Manhattan, in New York City, and I've taken many classes, but also symposiums and various things on mostly child psychology, I would say, child
Development.
early childhood education, and there's been a study that I had read about where kids stop regulating themselves at around 4, and they so instead of all this, there's a plate of cookies, let's say, in front of me, and I eat them all, or I only eat a few because and then I'm full. They're tasty, but then I'm full, and then not the same, or then at around 4 that you go, oh my gosh, I just eat all the cookies because they're a treat, and I've been taught, oh my God, this is the most delicious thing. So I did it with. Then years later, when I had my own child to experiment on, but I did. I turned to Karina. Yeah. B.F. Skinner has nothing on me now. I turned to Karina and I said, "So here's a bowl of M&Ms for your room. Now, if you have a handful or so every day, I will replenish them. If you eat them all right now, say, or in a day, then no more M&Ms in your room. Yeah, pretty simple." And not you're being punished, or just therefore, you're not ready to have a bowl of M&Ms in your room. And often we can say, who is? But so.
Well, it's good because it's consequences.
Yeah.
It's circumstances, consequence, actions that have a consequence.
Well, and that's
you can control.
Yes, and in my household we had very few rules, and they were all about respect and safety. And I'm not a big, probably guess, I'm not a big, don't paint on the walls, don't, bedtime, strict rituals, but there were things that I wouldn't budge on. And I think that consequences is a very nice way to put it. It's very important in raising a child to kind of give them that information of that, because as we all know, that's how life works. That, there are actions and consequences, and that there are things that no matter what,
and it's empowering to give them their own decision, the decision to, well, how do I want to see this played out? But and at 4 too. I mean, that's
well, we've gone through a lot of respect things with her initially, and also respecting me is also respecting yourself and all that. But so this worked. She would eat.
What happened with the M&Ms?
Yeah, it worked. She would eat some M&Ms, and then one day my sister and her 2 daughters, my nieces, came over to the apartment, and my sister and I are sitting on the couch, and within a couple minutes, Karina comes running out into the living room going, "They're eating all the M&Ms! They're eating all the M&Ms!" And I was like,
oh, the poor thing.
They're not. She was horrified, and I was like, they're not part of this. That's okay.
They don't realize. They don't know the rules.
But I was like, well, she's like, I told them. And they don't care. they're not going to be here tomorrow for the, you know what I mean? I was like, but also that's not how my sister's household works. My sister's household works in a different way. And I was like, and that's okay. In this house, don't worry. I was like, I should have removed the M&Ms in the first place. Because also the look on my sister's face of, what do you mean you have a bowl of M&Ms in Karina's room at age 4? And I was
What
like,
are you doing?
it's not a fatty thing. It's like I'm trying to figure this out. Like I was like, but I do, and I think actually, you know, we talked about that in terms of nutrition and stuff like that. So she did understand it was a treat, and we had done I've done this with a lot of kids, but again, and with my own, we would do a collage of things that are, you know, super healthy for you, and things that are, you know, you should only eat sometimes, and things that
Yeah.
are treats, you know. And so we cut them out of magazines and you paste them on. So it really gives you a chance to have a discussion about it and really see what that is. And why is it that we put this stuff here? Because it helps you build stuff, right? It helps you build muscles and bones and brain, you know, and really trying to get them to understand what food is, not just this thing that you're being forced to do.
Right.
Like, okay. And but it definitely I mean, you know, I think she's pretty good at self-regulating to this day, you know. And again, and not for somebody else's telling you what to do, you know.
Well, that's what I find so empowering about this. So I have a little story about my son Kiefer when he was I'm going to say he was more like 7, maybe 6 or 7, but but it's in the same realm. And he taught me. I didn't do this, although I did have a wonderful pediatrician who really did advocate, like, to the rulemaking when it gets out of balance to the point where it's all about deprivation. No, you can't, and you don't give them any kind of choice about it.
Yeah.
That's when it falls apart, because later they'll rebel and they'll just, because my parents were like that. That nothing was allowed ever, and I didn't even have the choice to, you know, to self-regulate. And so I just go over to my girlfriend's houses for sleepovers, and I would eat everything in their pantry. I mean, it became a joke. Like, I would show up and I was like, give me every sugar cereal you have. And I
wasn't allowed Barbie dolls as a child.
Oh,
They were a sexist stereotype. And that is all I did at anyone else's house. I was like, you have
right?
Barbies? Can we play Barbies? Can you have Barbies? Do you have Barbies? I was like a little crack addict. And I was like, that's all I did. My cousin had the Barbie dream house. Like, that's all. She was like, do you want to play with anything else? I was like, no.
Yeah, right. Because so there's a good psychology in that. So there was something that my son did where he had a thing for Oreos, you know, Oreo cookies, and he asked specifically for 7 after dinner every single night. And he would want 7. Like, in the beginning, I would just, okay, you can have some Oreos, and here's a couple. And he goes, no, I want more. And you know, I would always say, no, that's too much. And then there's a famous line now that I have. I'm gonna have to put it on
Family lexicon.
Yeah, and where he just out of frustration went, no, I want too much. And I went, what? I want too much. I was like, wow, he's really letting me know. And that was brilliant. I mean, I do have it written on a t-shirt now, because, and I sent it to him for his 20th birthday. I want too much, because I thought it was just brilliant. So I said, okay, I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to allow him to do this. So I would put out 7 Oreos, and then he'd calm down, but he stopped after 2. He would eat 2 and then go, okay. And then, and I was like, oh, wow. Okay, good. You know, he did it himself. And then the next night, you know, the same thing, 7. I was like, really? You sure? 7? Okay. All right. And then he'd eat 2. And then, but he had to see the 7 in front of him.
Yeah, there's something just really fascinating about
What
it.
is that?
I love that. I know. I think that's just so. It's a little bit. I think that you want the ability that if I want that much, you know what I mean. Don't tell me I can't.
Right.
You know, no, I've got something in mind. You know, and it may have always been. I just want to see 7 of them. I really don't want to eat 2. I mean, it's hard to tell with children, but there's something very fascinating about that in terms of I want too much. That it's also, though everyone is always telling you as a kid, oh, be quieter, do this, everything is supposed to be turned down kind of,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
way. And it's, no, it's why my sister and I have a ritual with we all have 3 children between us, but where we give them a pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream for their first birthday. Just an entire pint just in front of them, just to watch them just
Because
fascinated. It was like,
that makes for good video
oh my
too.
God, this is just wonderful. But also just this idea of like, not a little bit of, just somehow there was the idea of just too much, you know what I mean? And like you just kind of have that. There's something beautiful about having too much and not needing it all and not wanting it all, not wanting it all, but also instead of, you can only have between the chiclets and the erasers, you can only have,
Well, I'm
hair
to,
shirt kind of thing,
I do it as an adult. I know for me, there are some things where I'm like, and I do have the psychology of, if I'm drinking wine or something, and it's like, oh, I want another glass of wine. I say, I'll just look at it. I'll just put it in front of me, but I really only want a sip out of it because it's not the first glass of wine. but and it's an interesting psychology because it's like, oh, if it's just there, I don't have to drink it, and it's an interesting. I can see myself do this. But I just want to see that it's there. I want the choice, and if you give me the choice, I will do what's right for my body. But if you don't give me the choice, my brain goes somewhere else, and I feel deprived.
Right.
And then it sets.
Who are you to tell me not to? Even if it's your own self, you're like, who are you to tell me I can't have another? It's like,
right.
Oh, okay, well, yeah.
Is it?
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. But also, and I think that there's something interesting about self-regulation that then helps you for everything. I mean, we're talking mostly, food issues. Obviously, it lends itself very well to that. But I mean, I think there's a lot of it in terms of even just what I've been going through since Karina left. That there have been times when I'm like, I could wallow in this, and there's times where I have for a little bit, but
Yeah.
also just going, is this helpful? Like, is another glass of wine going to be helpful to me or not helpful to me? Or, what I mean? Yes, I am a big believer in go ahead and give it a good cry. But I think that it's self-regulation is interestingly, I feel, an offshoot of really checking in with yourself, of really self-knowledge and really knowing what you need. And that's part of it.
Also getting out of the thinking body, the thinking head, and getting into the feeling body. I mean, I'm all about that. That's my whole coaching is based on that. It's about what you're feeling. And honestly, that'll give you more truth before the mind's lies sometimes. And that's when you're really connected to your intuition. You're really connected to soulfully, spiritually, your true self. And the thinking part of you is what says, no, I'm going to keep eating. It wants more. It wants more. I mean, this is for me. So I'm just a big advocate in getting into the feeling body. And then when you are aware of, I'm actually full. My brain, my eyes want to see a full plate of food in front of me, just because I'll do it with food too. I'll take a second helping just to see that it's there, and then I'll have one bite out of it, and I'm good. And I don't feel like anybody's said no to me.
That's great. And I mean, I think that there is this kind of, as we call it, mindless eating, which is definitely, a little bit feeling in terms of taste buds or whatever, but that you're just like, I'm not even paying attention to if I'm hungry. It's just like, this tastes good, I'm going to do this. And certainly during stressful times, but also during times I feel like when I feel less in control, which is, I think, where, I mean, I definitely, I've done my time with the shrink about eating disorders in terms of,
oh yeah, me too,
control of, this is how I can control things, is through food. And you're like, yes and no. But that I think, and it comes back to with kids, with the children, that I feel like it's important for them to feel like they do have control.
I do too.
They do, and that's what you mean by choices.
Hmm.
And that, like, that's one of the things. Uh, yeah, another Karina story, but I actually am a proponent of timeout if it's used properly, which is you remove the child from whatever is making them, hysterical and upset. You sit them down in a quiet space and you explain to them why you're doing it. You were, behaving this way, and I want you to I want you to take time to I want you to breathe. I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about it, and then I want you to, and then we'll check in 2 minutes or whatever their age is, and we'll go, and we'll do that. So Karina had one time out, and then she had a second time out. And she walked out with the second time out with the timer in her hand. And she said, "How do I not do that again?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It's really pretty easy. You just listen to mommy and try to do." And it was that kind of thing. She was just like, But again, I feel like you're making it. I'm allowing you to make a choice. You have the choice to not be in this timeout. You
I
just
love that. Did she really ask that question?
Yeah. How I not do
How
that?
do I not do that again?
Not like that. She did not like the whole experience, and it was like,
No, but that's really brilliant. That was her, she's going to crack the puzzle. She's going to find a solution to this. How
yeah.
old was she when she did that?
Oh, she was like 2.5.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Of course yeah, that's really cool.
Child at that age who I had to remove from the Children's Museum on 83rd Street or
Oh,
wherever.
I love that museum.
She just decided to test me and to like throw this entire tantrum. And luckily, my sister was there and I like, picked her up and I scooped. I was just like, "We're leaving. This is not the appropriate behavior." Get down to the Broadway, and she starts screaming, "Help me! Help!" I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
you." It was about 3 at that point. I was like, "You've got to. You are." I could not believe it. I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And luckily, again, my sister and one of my nieces were there. We got me in a cab, and she's still doing it. And the cab driver's like, I'm not sure, ma'am." My sister just locks eyes with him. She's like, "Do you have kids? Do you have kids? Have they ever thrown a tantrum? Yeah, just drive. Just drive. We're not stealing the child. It's fine." I was like, "Oh yeah." No, I mean that's the thing. She understood interpersonal relationships at a very at a very early age. She knew she had a grasp on and again on control
yeah.
and and figuring out where her boundaries were and where my boundaries were and the buttons that lay on the edge of the boundaries. But yeah, it's I think it's very interesting in terms of because we also the term often used is self-control. Right,
Hmm.
we keep saying self-regulation because that's what we talk about, how we talk about it now, but also it's self-control. So it's about controlling the environment around you, saying, "I want 7 Oreos, damn it, and I want 7 of them." I'm not saying I'm going to eat 7 of them. I want 7 of them.
Hmm.
That's the deal. Like
And
that.
I want to say no to it.
Yes.
When I
I'm
decide to
in
say
control.
no.
Yeah. I'm in control of this, which is very Kiefer. It's very this.
Oh, extremely. I mean, and in the beginning, it was a little, oh, am I doing the right thing? Because he asked for 7, I'm going to give him a 7. But then when I started seeing who he started showing me and telling me who he is as a person, and he's like this to this day. When he makes a decision about something, he sticks to it. But he'll decide, he was also very slow in doing things, like swimming and like he likes to watch first, and then he makes a decision to do it. He doesn't just do things
Yeah.
without thinking. And
Yeah.
even the potty training, which I'm a big believer that you can learn everything about your child, about who they're going to be in life by and just their tendencies about with this potty training. Because I remember him at some point, whenever it was the timing of it, at 2, whenever it is when you start, I'm trying to make this happen. And he just said he wouldn't try, wouldn't do it. And he said, "I'll do it when Nana and Papa come to visit," which was in June. They were coming, and this was March something. And I was like, who do you think I am? And I swear to you, he kept saying it, he kept saying it. And then the day they showed up, he took the diaper off, or he took the pull up off, or what, and never put it back on again. I think that is huge for a kid. But that's when I said, okay, I think I need to start listening to you.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's why I was in Karina had her own timeline. It was like, oh, they're supposed to be doing this at this age. I mean, obviously, I was not the big worrier in terms of those things either. As my dear, wonderful friend Kate Blum once said to us, she said, well, have you ever seen a kid in kindergarten not holding their head up? She was like, the tummy time, and you're supposed to, she was like, they'll all learn how to hold their head up. She was like, it happens, and you're like, it really is true. And they just, the same so now we all have to worry that we're not being good enough mothers because, oh my God, I quit my job to do this. And it's like, oh, yeah, just relax. The kids, I feel like that also, again, have a child who just wasn't about to be on anybody else's timeline. She had no interest in what you thought was supposed to happen at any given time. It's like, no. And I don't mean being later. I just mean like, no, that was that. She just was like, this is when I'm going to do this. Now.
And when you have, interestingly enough too, I mean, I love to look at families that have like 5 kids, because every single one of them is going to be different. I mean, I know I just have 2, but they're completely different. And it's a great thing to really learn about honoring who people are. Like the more you see families with all these kids and they're all so different, and somehow usually the ones at the end are so like they're fabulous because everybody leaves them alone and they just can do anything they want.
What was your position in the family again there?
I was 4. I was 4 out of 5.
Yeah, the little ones at the end there. No, but it's true, and I also think that that's probably a little bit why parenting is so difficult.
Yeah.
And that I think parenting is difficult even with an only. I think that there's you have to figure out this other person.
Yeah.
If you so choose to. Now you can also just fight with them forever and just.
Well, you can also be the kind of parent that just wants them to be a version of you. A reflection of you. And I know people like that, and it's like, oh,
or just always do what I say.
Yeah, and be who I think you should be. Like be me, basically.
Yes, I have to say
that doesn't work.
Like Karina is very unhappy. She often says, she's like, people say that just like you, just like Dad. I'm like, I'm sorry. That's different. I didn't want you to be a version of me. I'm just a big personality, and sometimes it drips off on other people. But no, it's definitely it's definitely a challenge. I think it's a lot easier if you just want to believe that this is how children are raised. That kind of idea. Like I've read the books, I've done the stuff, and this is how you're like, yeah, that doesn't. I mean, for me, I remember countless times we talk about choice and all that, and I often say that in terms of toddlers, that arguing with a toddler is like screaming at a fence post. Like, don't do it. You're never gonna win, because what's the best outcome? You won arguing with a toddler. It's not gonna change them. It's not gonna do any good. And you're a crazy person for arguing with a toddler. But that where that comes in is that I think that I would often offer her choices, but limited choices.
Mm-hmm.
Not the what do you want to eat for dinner, or
right.
or what are you gonna wear? She definitely shut me out of that early on. But still, it would be, do you want to wear this or this? And very often Karina was the child who'd say neither. But I want to go get my but as long as we got to a decision, right? We got we got you there. She's like, no, but I have another idea in mind. Stuff she wore to preschool. So, but that's why it also, I feel like, made me such a valuable preschool teacher, was because I was also the one to be like, they're like, I can't get him out of his Superman costume. I was like, why are you trying to get him out of his Superman costume?
Listen, what's wrong?
He can't be Superman.
Nothing wrong with that Superman costume.
Who told him that? That's no good. Or she, it's like, so, I definitely, and I think that parents often, because they just offer too much nowadays, that they just say, what is it that, what do you want to do? And you're like, no, the toddler brain cannot handle that. But they really, really are fascinated by the fact that they might have a couple choices in front of them. Like that makes them feel like you also trust them to make a decision, that they feel like they
Right.
have a stake in this too.
Mhm.
You know,
Mm.
so if you get to choose something, then you get to follow through with it. You get to be like, yes, I am going to sit nicely at this restaurant because I got to choose where I was seating at seated at the table, or what, just little things like that allow people to allow children to feel like they are part of the decision making process, and in
Mhm.
limited ways. I'm not saying, ask them
But
what
but isn't
doctor
that
they
just
want, but
that's just so valuable. That's valuable to us as adults.
yeah,
This is the part of building relationships.
yeah.
Just like not feeling like you just need to be in control over everything and
Well, that's what I mean. I think when you feel that your parent, as I say, I mean, I think we have kind of interesting, strong-willed children, but that when you feel that your parent is in control, it also feels like they don't trust you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that you're not allowed to make any decisions yourself means that maybe I can't. But they don't think I can. I think I can make my own decision about something. And I'm not saying, whatever, let them run with scissors, but or juggle knives, as is a big one in my household. But it's just it establishes that they don't have a say or a choice or the ability to do that. So then you're like, well, but well, screw you, man. I'm not going to listen to what you have to say if you're not going to listen to mine.
right. All it does is set you off in a different direction. I mean, I understand that it's a reactive um, response as opposed to a, a mindful responsal. Responsal. That's a new word.
But
But
that's
a
the
response, a
response.
response instead of a reaction.
Yeah. No, and I think also definitely, definitely you see it when it swings too much the other way too. When people, I think that happens a lot with working parents who feel that they don't spend enough time with their kids, and then you just all of a sudden now you're allowing the child to make more important decisions, more important choices than
Oh,
and are in their wheelhouse. You know what I mean? I used to say to parents all the time, they'd say, "Well, she wouldn't, whatever, she wouldn't pick up any of the toys today after we were, done playing for playtime, before circle time, we did a pick up toys, and oh yeah, she doesn't do that at home. And well, I asked her to clean up after herself. She throws a fit. It's horrible. So, I was like, it sounds to me, it sounds like a 2-year-old is running your household. Like these aren't those aren't choices. You don't get, it's not a choice whether you don't want to bite somebody or not. Like, no, that's not a choice.
that's just a temporary avoiding conflict, and which never leads to a long-term solution.
And of course, nobody wants to clean up, but that's part of the deal of being a parent. You also have to do things that are less than popular. But I also feel that to wrap it around, that by giving your children choices of, let's say, smaller or choices of anything, allows you to establish things that aren't a choice. So it's not just me controlling you.
Right.
So that's where choice, that's where giving a child a choice really does help that. And in that way, again, back to the self-regulation, that it's about, that's your choice, is to eat all the M&Ms today. That's your choice. That's your choice. But then you see what happens when that happens. And that the idea that by giving, and who knows, maybe ourselves and each other for that matter, little choices along the way,
Mm-hmm.
it helps to build trust and lessen the control issues of, like,
Absolutely, because also I'm a believer that we're here to not make those choices and see what happens and feel the human. We learn from that. Oh wait, that didn't work out so well. With these little choices, that's part of being human. So everything's a really good lesson when it comes to that. The power of choice, man. It's a superpower.
it's true. And why not give your child a superpower? So I said, like, little
And then wear their superpower choice cape to school.
exactly, and then they can wear their SP or C, or giant C, just for choice.
C for choice, yeah. With their mask with their names on it.
There we go. Excellent. We're just popping out ideas here. Yes. Well, that was That I like that one. I've been thinking about that one a lot.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your
Well, certainly
experience.
now that the child is, beyond my control. No, but you know what I mean. Now that she's off being a college freshman on
Yeah.
campus, that it's nice to know. Like I'm going back and thinking about like how have I equipped her?
Yes, those M&Ms have equipped her. That's the seed of being able to make choices, which is for what I want. So now you can trust what I
Oh,
trust that he's there. Trust to trust.
I believe that we are having a technical issue. And on that note,
Okay. We're
yes, you are frozen for me and for our recording. But anyway, so on that note, we are going to make the choice to say goodbye and want to remind you to view our videos on our YouTube channel. Let's all feel better, and on realwomensnetwork.com. That's REEL womensnetwork.com. And listen to us and share this out. We're gonna get back on our publicity bandwagon with this one. This is our 21st episode. So now that
we're adults. We're out in the world.
we are legal drinking age in most states. So yeah, now.
So I will have that second glass of wine.
There you go. There you go. Don't self-regulate too much for your 21st. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thanks always for being here. Thanks for letting us share.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you, Kalista. Love you.
Always love you too.
As always, you can find us at letsallfeelbetter.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Let's All Feel Better.
And watch us on our YouTube channel. You guessed it, Let's All Feel Better.